In the realm of God, the most important thing God looks at is the heart of a man. He said, men look on the outward. He said, but God looks at the heart. That means one of the ways you present yourself before God is to present your heart. Now, how do you present your heart? You cannot remove your heart from your chest and say, Lord, see my heart. We are talking about the inward man. So one of the ways God studies your heart is by the quality of sacrifices you make. There are technologies in the spirit. The hearts of men are read like books, but the book that is read in order to understand the heart of a man is the kind of sacrifice he offers. And so God knows all of us here by our hearts. If our heart becomes wrong, God rejects us. If our heart is right, God works with us. So our heart is the most important asset we have in the realm of God. But the way God accesses our heart is by the quality of our sacrifice. So in Matthew chapter 6 verse 21, the Bible said, where a man's treasure is, he said what? There his heart is also. And so if all your resources are going in the direction of self, God will already judge you to be selfish. God will already judge you to be self-centered. You can come to church and lie down and say, Lord, I love you. You know I do. And you are crying and tearing. That's biochemical process. Sir, when you finish, get a handkerchief, clean your face. God is not working with your tears. You see many people in the night, 12 midnight, they wake up in the morning, they are naked. They stand before the moon and say, Abba Father, I am here. God can honor your faith, but listen, that's kindergarten Christianity. You see many people, they are rolling on the floor, they are crying, but their heart is far from God. Their selfishness is louder than their action. Because all of that thing they are doing is to receive. When there is a kingdom need, they will never be there. How do you think God can entrust nation to such men? Some of us, our heart is too small to accommodate nation. The people God can give nations to are those who are enlarged through sacrifice. Because when God gives them power over nations, he knows that families will benefit, governments will benefit, territories will benefit. The guy is not thinking me, I and myself. He's thinking the agenda of God. And so when God sees that you are all about yourself, your heart becomes too narrow. So the way you open up your heart to the Lord so that God can empower you is when you embrace the demands of sacrifice. In Genesis chapter 22 from verse 1, God wanted to test Abraham to see, because God had promised him in Genesis 12, I will make you a father of all nations. But he wanted to see, can this guy's heart carry nations? Can this guy's heart accommodate generations? Let's test him and see the magnitude of capacity he has built. And the Bible said, now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. Hear what God said. Then he said, take now your son, your only son Isaac. God was reminding him, that's your only treasure. So I don't want you to do it absent-mindedly. He said, your only son Isaac. He now added, whom you love. And go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. Your son, your only son, not the one you don't love, the one that you love. And go and offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I shall tell you. See Abraham's response. Abraham rose early. If I tell Sarah, it will not happen. I better leave Sarah out of this. I don't want tears. This matter is not for tears. Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son. And he split the wood of the burnt offering and arose and went to the place which God had told him. See what Abraham said in verse 5. That's what humbled me. He said, and Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkeys. I and the lad will go yonder and worship. That's what God was looking for. You want to be a father of all nations? You want to receive all the promises? You want to become the greatest of all men? How much heart do you have? The way hearts are tested, the way hearts are presented to God is through sacrifice. From verse 11, God appeared. When he saw that the man went through with the process, see what happened in verse 11. He said, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. The first thing there is that he came under an open heaven. Abraham, Abraham. He said, here I am. And hear what God said. Do not lay your hand on the lap. It's not about your sacrifice. It's about your heart. I'm trying to read your heart. I'm trying to study your heart. It had nothing to do with your son. But I want to know what I can commit to you. And the way to study your heart is through the channel of sacrifice. He said, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son and your only son from me. God asked you, give 1,000. You say, it's not easy. God, this thing, I taught, I labored. God asked you for your time. You say, God, every 30 minutes of my time is worth something. How can I stay with God for 30 minutes? Oh God, is your soul yours? The air of your nostrils, is it yours? If it is withdrawn today, can you calibrate time? Don't you know that every time God makes a demand, he's trying to study your heart? God is reading a textbook. It's your heart, but he's using the gateway of sacrifice to access your heart. Now I know. That's the omniscient God. So there are many things God deliberately decide not to know until you prove it. Now I know that you fear me. That's how God checks our heart. When you see God give things to men, is the degree to which he has studied their hearts. If your heart has not been studied, your ordination will be held back. Your blessings may be held back. Some of the things you are praying for and praying about, God is afraid of giving you, because he has not studied your heart. He doesn't know if he gives it to you, it will cost you your salvation. Lord, I want to be the next president. I want to be the next senator. I want to be the next billionaire. I want to be the next. God is asking, does your heart have the capacity to handle it? I don't want to make you senator and then we start looking for you, and the only place we can find you is in the jungle of hell. Oh Lord, make this real estate prosper. I want to control the real estate, the biggest in Abuja. It's not a challenge. But do you know what it takes to sit on 20 billion? When you are sitting on 20 billion and senators, entrepreneurs from America, UK are calling you around the clock, can you shut your phone down for 1 hour in prayer? Because at that level, 1 hour can be equal to $5 million. Are you able to? Can we find you on the prayer altar? Will you come to church and sit for 3 hours? Are you sure some business proposals will not be on Sunday morning? Because now you are negotiating with somebody from Australia and the time zones are different. The only time you can do that business is when you should have been in church. Are you sure Australia will not become your heaven? He has not checked your heart. So when you ask for certain things, God will also ask for some things. Not because he needs those things he's asking for, but because he wants to check your heart. Because God is more interested in your soul than he's interested in every other thing you have. And so sacrifice is powerful because it's one of the major ways God studies men. The Bible said men can be weighed. When Daniel showed up before Bethesda, he said, you have been weighed in the balances. You have been found wanting. The thing some of us were praying for, when they weighed us, we were light. We couldn't handle it. And so God is saying, let's test you for 1 year. Sacrifice some more so that your heart can gain gravity. Because it will take a texture of heart to be able to command that power. It will take a texture of heart to be able to stand in that position and still be a servant of God. Some people became senators and they didn't come to church again till the next election. And the reason they came is because they want to canvass for support. Sacrifice. God uses it to study the hearts of men. That's why it's powerful. You can't deceive God. Lord, I love you. Lord, I'll do anything for you. Lord, make me and people, widows, we no longer cry. Orphans, we no longer cry. Lord, if you give me this position, I will make sure that education is improved. I will make sure light. God is saying, the little sacrifice we are asking for, you have not been able to do it. What is the assurance that you... Let's check your heart first now. How much can you do now? The power of sacrifice. God uses it to check the quality of our heart. He said, I the Lord. Jeremiah 17 verse 11. I try the heart and I test the reins to give unto every man as his ways should be. I the Lord, I test the heart. Everything God gives to men, he checks their heart before he gives them. And one of the ways God traces the heart of a man is by the instrumentality of sacrifice.